it is believed that trauma can be a life sentence. Actually, trauma can be experienced by all of us at different times and in different situations. Ever since I was a little girl, I asked myself this question: how is it possible that some people overcome trauma and other people stay stuck in it? My connection with trauma began growing up in beautiful Venezuela, in a community of immigrants and refugees of war. It continued as a Latina immigrant in New York, the big city of New York. These are my grandparents, Nana and Lalo. They are the sole survivors of the Holocaust. They taught me that trauma is contagious. It goes from generation to generation, not only by experiencing it, but also by biological inheritance through the DNA. So as I was more aware of this, I started working with, for example, the Cambodian refugees in the Bronx. Then, for example, when 9/11 happened, I was in New York and I was called by the Red Cross to work with the survivors of communities in New York. And I realized there are three distinct groups. There's a group of people that stay stuck and even develop PTSD. There's a second group of people that actually heal and even can be resilient. And there's a third group of people that are my favorite. They not only heal, but they bounce forward. They become stronger, they even have experienced a spiritual awakening. It seems that falling apart and having cracks allows light to enter us. And that is what I call post-traumatic growth. And that is what became my passion, my interest as a researcher and as a clinical psychologist, because I truly believe that if we give people the hope that there can be transformation after trauma, it makes a real difference in the world. And this is what I do every day. So let's not confuse resilience with post-traumatic growth. Resilience is bouncing back and it's all good. Post-traumatic growth is a quantum leap of transformation. This is where you really are having a difference in appreciation of life, in the making meaningful relationships in your life, and really having a true spiritual awakening. I realized that this process doesn't really happen by itself. It requires work, it requires intention, it requires courage, and it also requires a lot of support. This is my 5-stage framework to make this process happen. The first stage is a stage of awareness. This is when we radically accept who we are, when we pause and come face to face with our shadow, with our dark side, and we embrace it, because the pain of remaining the same, the risk of remaining the same is more painful than the risk of changing. The second stage is a stage of awakening. This is when we seek safety and protection. And this is when we reach out for friends, families, therapists, communities, so we can be safely expressing our feelings. In the third stage, we start creating new narratives of ourselves, others, and the world. So for example, if you were a person that kept to yourself, this is when you experiment with new places, new people, new experiences, new hobbies, new books, new ways of thinking. And then in the fourth stage, you are able to integrate the old self with a new way of being. This is a both and. So let's say if you can be both a survivor of sexual abuse and also a strong, confident, assertive woman in a leadership role. The fifth stage, of course, my favorite again, is a stage of wisdom and growth. This is a stage when we are in gratitude, when we have a strong sense of self. This is a stage when we are not limited by our past. This is when you turn the pain into purpose. This is when you turn the breakdowns into breakthroughs. And when you turn the medicine from the wound, when you bring the medicine from the wound. What you see here is the Champlain Towers. I don't know if you remember that, in Surfside, that collapsed last year. And almost 100 people died and left the whole community shaken. I was called to help with the community. and, and the microphone. And all of us, survivors, first responders, firefighters, police, we would gather every day at 10 in the morning and 5 at night to check with each other, to help each other, to give resources, to see how you were doing. We became a family. And that was a good reminder for me that collective trauma requires collective healing. This is not the only experience of collective trauma that I have. I work also with families of a school shooting, unfortunately, and I was amazed to see some families develop so much compassion and empathy for the shooter and for other families. So how do we keep going with growth and transformation? By moving. Movement is life. Creativity and imagination is the antidote to fragmentation and isolation. And, you know, working with trauma every day is not easy. Every day that I work with patients that I love and learn from every day, I'm also reminded of my own situations that I had to overcome, like moving countries, like the death of my father, like discrimination. But you know what? I'm also hoping to be that flower that can bloom out of concrete against all odds. And part of my own post-traumatic growth is this book. It has allowed me to rewrite my own story. It is my gift back to the world. Thank you so much.